We have risen from the ashes to school the masses. Hello everyone, welcome to another edition of the Scholars of Wrestling Show. I'm your man behind the microphone, Scholar Jeff. To my right is the freshly haircut Scholar Tarek. What's going on tonight, sir?
Well, I'm still exhausted from this Summerslam weekend. I'm still feeling the effects. With this recently buzzed hair, I don't know if you can see, my head's a little red. I got a sunburn up here.
Ooh, wow.
So that is definitely feeling the effects of summer.
Oh, yeah, that'll do it.
Yeah, from this SummerSlam weekend, it is definitely one to talk about.
Oh, yes, for a number of reasons. But before we get into all that, for those of you who are watching us on YouTube, you might realize that, indeed, neither of us are wearing any belts. That's right, Scholar Brian has successfully defended his Scholars of Wrestling Championship, although just barely.
But he didn't just win the event, he won it with me.
Yes, it was a tie, but unfortunately, you can't change the belt on a tie.
Well, as of right now, he needs that belt to actually feel relevant. So you know what? Go ahead, Brian. Keep the belt. I have done plenty enough on this show to know that I don't need the belt to be relevant. I am as relevant as a scholar can be. As for you, you're still getting there. You're all right.
The belt goes on, but the belt is gone, but the smack talk goes on.
Oh, he was going to rub it in my face from his little Twitter posts, and then decides, you know what? I don't really want to go face-to-face with Scholar Tarek because, yeah, he says moral victories are a load of BS, but you know what? In the end, he really has nothing to say. Yes, he's still champion, but I already know what it's like to have that belt longer than both of you two combined. So,
yes, because you are the cheese. You are better than both the salami and the bologna combined, aren't you?
I am definitely the cheese of the Scholars of Wrestling. I think you're Betty Baloney.
Hello.
Oh boy, what a beautiful day! And Brian would be the one climbing out of the phone and beating you to death with it.
Like, I hate baloney! Blah, 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 blah.
You know what's actually really funny? I actually do see this. In the comparisons.
You know what? Yeah, this is actually working.
It actually, he would be the one bursting out of a phone and beating you to death with it, and I just go on screen just saying how I'm better than both of you. Which, to be fair, is absolutely true.
Actually, I just realized this show is Wacky Deli. This show is Wacky Deli.
It really is.
Sandwiches are good. But be that as it may...
Deli meats.
Deli meats.
But you love it.
But... oh, brother. But meanwhile, we would be remiss if we didn't mention the other title shift, the first ever Scholars of Wrestling Party Champion, because we had one heck of a party on Sunday. And we also crowned, in our scramble, our first ever Scholars of Wrestling Party Champion, and that is Mr. John Michael Russo, Mr. JML himself, our first ever inaugural Scholars of Wrestling Party Champion. Bravo, sir! Congratulations! I will hope to see you on the show very soon.
With him trying to get Brian to put that belt on the line for Clash of Champions, yeah, he's definitely going to try his damnedest to come on this show.
Oh, I bet. And I'm sure we're going to be seeing him eventually. But for right now, we need to see how the heck we got here. So let's dive right in. This is WWE Summerslam 2019. Starting with the kickoff show, which unfortunately I had to miss because my local Wi-Fi was messing up bad. Drew Gulak defeated Oni Lorcan.
Apparently that's not just the Wi-Fi. Apparently the network was buffering a lot for a lot of people during this show.
That's why I kept hearing. Apparently there was some sort of, in our area at least, I looked into it, and apparently there was some sort of very wide outage. But for other people, it seemed like there was just more centralized on outage just on the WWE network. So I'm not sure what happened here.
All right, with that being said, let's talk about the Cruiserweight Championship match. Honestly, it was just another Cruiserweight match.
Yeah, after looking into it after the fact, it seemed like there was a lot. It was a bit slower than your typical cruiserweight championship match, but there was enough technicality to keep it interesting, and it worked on a different level.
This definitely was no Buddy Murphy, Tony Nese kind of paced match. But yeah, two guys who worked with each other pretty well. There wasn't anything huge that came out of it, in my opinion. There was no highlight of this match, and really you can kind of say that with all three matches that came on the pre-show. But I would say of the three of them, this one was the best. But in one case, that match was more storytelling than an actual match. But for this one, yeah, it was a good match.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. That's all that can be really said. It was a good match. Good appetizer. Keep going with our
first
appetizer.
match of the night. It's always got to be that way.
Mm-hmm.
Now, moving on to what you were referring to earlier, we had Buddy Murphy technically defeating Apollo Crews. It was a disqualification because Eric Rowan came in and started beating down Buddy Murphy, screaming, "Keep my name out of your mouth."
That sounded dirty.
He's
really.
a whore.
But yeah, this is definitely more storytelling than anything, and I'm actually glad that Buddy Murphy is actually getting this kind of finally actually getting this much, I guess you could say, publicity of this storytelling. He had this, and he had a fantastic match with Roman Reigns on SmackDown.
Oh yeah, much to our collective surprise and delight.
Well, I wasn't surprised. I know exactly what Buddy Murphy is capable of. That's why I loved his cruiserweight title reign.
I was more to the point that he got he of all people was just thrust into the spotlight.
To be fair,
as talented as he is, you typically do not see people at his level just automatically just paired into a mini feud of sorts with Roman Reigns.
Well, from what I've been reading, that this whole him getting involved was actually an accident, considering the fact that everybody kept focusing on the fact that he was in the background of the first attack. That it's like, you know what, everyone keeps bringing up Buddy Murphy. You know what? Let's just put him in the storyline. So it was a blessing in disguise for Buddy Murphy, and I really hope that this match and Roman's actual, endorsement after the match, with him just nodding and saying, you know what, yeah, good job. You gave me a hell of a match. I would not have expected that. Hopefully this is actually leading for something great for Buddy Murphy, which people are hoping it could be a nice, decent push, possible face turn for him, since he's actually getting actual legit cheers from the crowd. And in my personal opinion, I hope this is just fantasy booking now for me. I want to see Buddy Murphy versus Ali versus Shinsuke Nakamura for the Intercontinental Championship at Clash of Champions now.
I can absolutely see that. My gut reaction as soon as I saw this developing was he's right now on Ali level, where he's a different kind of character. He's in the mix, and he's the right kind of person who can excel on the platform that he's given. If that's a route they end up doing, then I can see this being the kind of match that will not only elevate Ali and Buddy Murphy, but it's also the kind of match that Shinsuke Nakamura can really excel in, and it'll give him a lot of the right setting and the right group of talent to really bring out the best in him. Because a lot of his naysayers have been saying, okay, he's just sort of more chill a lot of the time. He just sort of coasts until the big match or the big premise comes up, and that's when he really amps it up. And I've got a feeling that if they do end up taking that route for Ali and Buddy Murphy, where they both challenge for the title, then I think you're going to see something really special.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. But speaking of crossed, we have Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross defeating the Iconics.
Nice segue.
Hey, when you set me up like that, I really can't turn it down.
That was actually a complete accident, too.
Hey, much like a lot of things. But hey, if it works, it works. Such is the case for a lot of things on this card. But yeah, Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross defeating the Iconics. I have to admit, I did not see this result coming. Not so much that they retained, but the fact that they're on a hot streak like they are, and there's actually, when everyone was predicting the heel turn for Alexa Bliss, oh, she's going to eventually just stab her in the back. Oh, why can't you just see that she's just using you, Nikki? And lo and behold, no, it's played completely straight.
Well, I've said it on this show before, and I'll say it again. I actually think it's going to be Nikki Cross being the one that actually turns on Alexa Bliss eventually. But the fact that they're pretty much getting so much like actual TV time, I'm not surprised at all that they won the Women's Tag Team Championship initially on Raw in the 4-way. This match sucked. I'm not going to lie. It wasn't a good match. That's just because the Iconics, whatever they had in NXT, is completely gone now. It was just a very sloppy match. And the whole thing that's confusing about Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross is they don't know what they want to be, or they don't know what the story doesn't know what they want to be. I mean, they're kind of faces when they're facing the Iconics, and Alexa Bliss is dressed like Buzz Lightyear, even pulling out the whole laser arm bit.
Yeah, that was.
And then the next night on Raw, they're
weird
facing.
But adorable.
She's adorable. She's just gorgeous. And then the next night on Raw, they're facing the Kabuki Warriors as heels. So it's like, oh, their faces one night, the heels the next night. They don't know what they want them to be. And that's the one real flaw of this storyline, is that it's all over the place, but not in a good way.
Yeah, it makes me think that right now the tag division just needs a good, solid act. Not necessarily face or a heel. It could be either just a really big act that can really swoop in and really take this entire division by storm. As much as I love the Kabuki Warriors, there's some oomph that's really missing from them.
Well, to be fair, they both don't want to be a tag team.
Yeah.
You could tell from the look on their faces. They're both just going through the motions in this. They're in positions where they don't want to be. And
the Iconics, it's been done before.
Well, the Iconics, they're just comedy acts.
They're cartoons, but they're very likable cartoons. But unfortunately, it's not. The only problem with them is that it's not fresh. And the original tag champs, Bayley and Sasha Banks, now are all preoccupied in other things. So really, at this stage in the game, who else could they produce that are remotely credible outside of Fire and Desire?
Honestly, they don't care. They don't even. You're thinking about this a lot more than WWE is.
Yes.
Because remember,
I am.
Vince McMahon didn't even want women's tag titles in the first place. He was forced into that, into announcing this. And from what I've been reading, I've been really looking into this, Sasha and Bayley were actually promised a lengthy title reign with the women's tag titles, so they could actually build some prestige to these belts. But then all of a sudden, WrestleMania comes and it gets all taken away just so they can give it to a comedy act in the Iconics, just for the slight hope that they were going to have the Iconics versus the Bellas, so the Bellas could be women's tag team champions. But since Nikki can't wrestle anymore, which in my opinion she was never able to do so anyway, but for this case it's more her body is beat up, so she can't do it. And then it reached that point where it's okay, well, since the Bellas there was no plan B after the Bellas, so they just tossed the Iconics to the side. And that was it until they decided to give it to Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross. And even now, they don't have anything for them. The Kabuki Warriors don't want to be the Kabuki Warriors. The only real contenders of this tag team division, is Fire and Desire and the Iconics. There really isn't anyone else.
Which is part of the problem. Now, Scholar's Quick Talk. If you had to inject a new women's tag team into the tag team title scene, who would you pick?
Well, I don't see a new tag team, but once she comes out of injury, I see Nia Jax teaming back up with Tamina.
You know what? I don't know why I kept forgetting about Nia Jax and Tamina.
Because they're so forgettable.
Yeah, and really, I keep forgetting that she's technically on the roster and just out with an injury.
And Tamina is just Tamina. Because we all know that she's not good.
Yeah. Personally, I would have said bring Toni Storm to the U.S. and have her team up with Lacey Evans. As sort of an odd couple type of gimmick.
That's what Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross is supposed to be.
So, fight fire with fire.
And it's even funny because they're not even doing Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross right. Like, if they started Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross more like William Regal and Tajiri-esque kind of characters, where you can tell Alexa does not want to be there, and Nikki Cross is just that crazy character.
No.
And it actually ends up where they're actually working together, and even throw in like, oh yeah, do you realize she's using you? But eventually that's just nothing, and eventually it leads to Alexa really trusting Nikki, and Nikki actually turning on her, saying, I was using you to make a name for myself, and now that I am somebody, I don't need you anymore. Hence, like I said, I think about this more than WWE does when it comes to Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross.
I'm sure that, and that's the sad thing, I'm sure that there are people on the WWE creative team who have tons of ideas for this division. The only problem is they're getting drowned out by either the masses or Vince McMahon, come whatever may. But I'm sure that there's someone in the back, at least one person, who has tons of ideas. It's just a matter of getting those ideas out on TV.
Apparently the whole thing with Alexa Bliss and the coffee is Alexa Bliss is her.
I did see that, and that's like, okay, it's something, roll with it, it's cute, do it.
All right.
Well, I'm loving it. But you know what? We've got the main card to get to, and we kick things off with Becky Lynch defeating Natalya, which unfortunately was sort of a dead giveaway the second it came out where it did on the card.
Didn't seem so with you, since you picked Natalya and Lacey
Well, yeah,
Evans.
because before I even saw it on the card, I didn't know that this was going to be kicking off the main card. So,
but it didn't matter where it was on the card. It was clear as day who was winning this feud. So, but that's on you. For this match and all, it was actually a really good match. They actually really worked that submission match aspect into this, where they basically were very creative with what they did with these submissions. And the highlight for me was Natalya hitting the sharpshooter on Becky on the second rope.
That was an impressive spot.
And they know there's no rope breaks in submission matches. So,
yeah, this one was one of those matches where
they have to be creative of how to get out of these submission holds.
Yes, and you know what? This is one of those matches where the creativity aspect, especially with someone that's as much as seniority and experience as Natalya, this is one where I just got the feeling where you give two wrestlers who are classically trained like these two, it's like giving an artist a blank canvas to just go wild. No orders, no nothing, just do something different. Let's get creative. Let's have some fun with this thing. And I personally feel like it shone through in this match.
The only real criticism I have is that Becky Lynch's sharpshooter did not look good. It was kind of like The Rock's sharpshooter, where it's more for look, but when you actually when you actually think about how everything is, the legs are positioned and where they're holding it in, like, that's not really how it's looked. That's not really how it works.
Yeah, and you know what? It's because it's not her native move, and it's not claiming to be any one of her finishes. Because she's essentially stealing someone else's move, it registers to me as okay because she's not mastered the move. It's okay to apply it imperfectly, if that makes sense.
I see where you're coming from.
Yeah.
I'll just.
It's
leave
not
it
a
at
deal
that.
breaker, put it that way.
Oh, it was a good match, and
Mm-hmm.
I called it on the prediction show. We're now going to get Becky Lynch versus Sasha Banks.
Boy, howdy are we. And I'm very happy about that fact that Sasha's back, complete with blue hair. Blue hair, fool. Blue hair.
That's just supposed to signify that she's a heel now.
Yeah. And it's good. I dig it. Yeah.
Eh.
It may not be Lacey coming back, but hey, this is still good. Speaking of good
Tired.
things.
I'm not happy to also hear Michael Cole. It's boss time!
I don't like the call either, but I just like what happens after that.
I am.
Speaking of things happening, we've got Goldberg defeating Dolph Ziggler.
This was
followed
fun.
by Goldberg defeating Dolph Ziggler again.
This was fun. I loved this. Even though it was at the cost of Ziggles, because Ziggles is very near and dear to me, but I'm glad that he's like, super kick, pin, 1, nope. Super kick, pin, 1, nope. And it just leads to one giant spear, jackhammer, 1, 2, 3. And then this is what everyone is saying. Dolph Ziggler decides to be the Black Knight of Monty Python and the Holy Grail, just saying, yeah, I could still kick your ass. What are you gonna do? Spray your blood on me? Yeah, don't worry. I still have enough oomph to kick your ass.
It's just a flesh wound.
It's just a flesh wound.
Which he actually
Which
said.
he actually did say, yes. And of course, Goldberg comes back, hits him with another spear. I can still do it. I can still kick your ass. Comes back. Goldberg picks him up. It's like, you know what? I respect your
Your chutzpah.
It's like, you sir got balls. I respect that. Run! Spear!
I'm still gonna kill you.
The best selling of the spear. He hits the spear and he just rolls back and stands up and then just collapses. I loved that. That was just Ziggler being amazing. I will admit they did kind of ruin it for me the next night on Raw when they had The Miz do it. Insinuating that, Miz is in
This is a gimmick now.
Miz is in that same, Miz is not in that, I love The Miz, but he's not in that same level as Goldberg, and him just doing the exact same thing is stupid. Stupid.
Well,
For the Goldberg aspect, it was so much fun.
absolutely. This was a Demolition Derby segment, and it was a ton of fun, perfectly rounded out by Dolph Ziggler, so kudos to you, Dolph. We love you here.
How do you feel about apparently him, this was supposed to be his last match by, having a handshake with Vince that this was going to be his last match, but once he was saying, okay, bye, Vince was like, no, you're not going anywhere.
If true, I feel like there is something underhanded about that, where, I don't know, maybe it's just sort of a throwback to it's in me, where even though you have no obligation to technically go along with a handshake agreement, there is something to be said for a gentleman's agreement, where handshakes actually mean something. This one, but again, until the Dolph Ziggler shoot interview comes out, maybe 6 months after it gets released, whenever that'll be, until then, that release happens, we're never going to know for sure. But in the meantime, we get cool stuff like AJ Styles defeating Ricochet. And I swear, when I first saw Ricochet come out, I did not realize that his outfit was supposed to be Nightwing. I am a bad comics fan.
It's not that it didn't click on me. I was just like, ugh. A full suit attire. I don't know if I really like that very much.
I had the same reaction. I was like,
like,
why is he in Stardust attire?
Yeah, and then someone was pointing out, oh, yeah, he's dressed as Nightwing. I like it. I was like, oh. I still don't like it, but I get it.
I liked it more because I personally knew what I was looking at. The full bodysuit look is not a good one for Ricochet, at least just like a vinyl bodysuit.
Mm-hmm.
But It was more enjoyable. I got more out of it, and I saw what he was going for. But even so,
and I definitely got a trapeze artist type of ordeal with some of the stuff that he did in this match. I mean, walking over Anderson and Gallows to land a Hurricane Rana on AJ Styles was just awesome. And when it comes to the wrestling aspect, this was one of the best matches on this show.
Easy.
Oh my God, it was so great. And just how it ended with, what was he trying to do, a Phoenix Splash?
Something like that,
He was going for his Phoenix Splash, and AJ Styles just catches him midair and just hits him with a Styles Clash for the win. At that point, as soon as he landed, I'm on my feet going, yeah, that was awesome! Oh my God, these are great matches between these two, and I just wanted more.
These two are putting on a clinic every single time they're in the ring together. Again, you're absolutely right. I want more. This is great.
Well, I say I want more between these two, but I feel like now if they just continue on with this storyline, if they continue on with this feud, I mean, it'll just run its course. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
If anything, let them take a break from their feud and have them move on to someone else who. It's not going to be Braun Strowman, though, even though we're getting AJ and Braun for the U.S. title on Raw.
Hey.
But we all know what the real end game is for Braun Strowman right now.
I certainly hope so. But in the meantime, we also have Bayley versus defeating Ember Moon.
This is the
why the head shake?
This is the one. It was it was a SmackDown match. You could tell from the beginning. Absolutely nobody cared about this match. That, one, it doesn't get a video package. Two, there was no one at all getting into this. No one at all believed Ember Moon was going to win. I predicted Ember Moon just because on the simple fact, they've been booking her so much looking like crap that they kind of have to give this to her just to help her gain some form of credibility. And they didn't even do that. This is the one match on this card that I actually did not like. And it's not just on the wrestling aspect, because Ember Moon and Bayley, they did a good job. But it's just the fact that there was nothing built into this. Ember Moon came into this looking like crap, and storyline-wise, looking like crap, and she ended this looking like crap. And she even continued that. Even though she put on a great match with Charlotte on SmackDown, she still was on the losing end of it, and it just didn't help anything. And she lost any form of momentum that she got 3 weeks ago.
And that's a real shame, because I want to like Ember Moon. She's got a crazy awesome look. Her finish is cool. Why would you not capitalize on her?
Especially when you have competition like AEW coming up. A loss for Bayley wouldn't have hurt her. So, if anything, like, if you want to have Ember Moon gain some form of credibility, just have her be a transitional champion. And from what they were hinting at, it looked like it was going to be some form of heel turn, but they did absolutely nothing with her.
This, to me, is a case of mismanagement rearing its ugly head, where someone in the back has a great idea for a character or characters, and the system just sort of chews it up and spits it out and never gets on TV. At least not in any complete form.
And it was in a terrible spot in this card. It came after Goldberg, after a great match like Becky Lynch and Natalya, a great nostalgia moment with Goldberg and Dolph Ziggler, and another great match with AJ Styles and Ricochet. This was the P-break match.
Unfortunately, this
was the perfect example of the P-break match.
The spot on the card really wasn't giving anyone any favors here. Yeah, the match itself, regardless of any other factors, did have its issues, but they were already going in with a handicap as far as I'm concerned.
But like I said, we're not taking this away from the wrestling aspect. Ember Moon and Bayley did a good job, but this definitely wasn't a SummerSlam match.
This was a booking issue.
This was just a typical SmackDown match. Not even a SmackDown main event. It was a SmackDown match. It had zero momentum going into this, and it gained Bayley nor Ember Moon gained anything from this match. Not a thing.
However, we did finally get some catharsis with the Kevin Owens defeating Shane McMahon to a hometown crowd. The energy for this match was tremendous, and the catharsis of the result. This match was a ton of fun. I thoroughly enjoyed this, which is more than I could say that I would ever expect to say for a 2019 Shane McMahon match.
What I liked about this was, really, it definitely felt Attitude Era-esque. The one criticism I have is not with anything in the match, just with what people are saying about this, is that Kevin Owens had to cheat to win. And my rebuff is Kevin Owens already had this match won. I felt like he could have just hit the stunner and that was it. He just took an opportunity to just add insult to injury when he kicked Shane McMahon in the nuts, or in the McMahon case, the family jewels. But people are just saying, oh, it's just, especially with people like how Brian Alvarez and what is his name? It wasn't Dave Meltzer. It was Vinny, like when it was the Brian and Vinny show.
Yes.
The Vinny, I don't know his full name. How they were just basically shitting all over this match. I honestly felt like they were just criticizing this match just to criticize it. I heard what they said about just how Kevin Owens was made to look like a complete idiot with all this, and I'm just thinking, honestly, this fits his character perfectly. He wants to just completely annihilate Shane McMahon, but he does as badly as he wants to do it. He knows the rules. And he took opportunities he can, which was, like I said, he had the match won. He just wanted to just add insult to injury to Shane and just kick him in the nuts. He didn't need to kick him in the nuts to win the match. He already had the match won, and he was just adding, like, you know what? This is my final nail in the head on how I feel about you. Kick in the nuts. Stunner, 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, and again, you read my mind. This all seemed in character. It all seemed fine. You're also talking to someone like Kevin Owens, who, while still being a tough guy, he's also charismatic and well-spoken enough to do even lighthearted or comedic spots very, very well. So it all seemed on brand and very appropriate and still very cathartic for the end of this whole feud, or at least the beginning of the final chapter, as so it would seem.
Apparently, the big rumor is we're going to get a Team KO versus Team McMahon for Survivor Series.
I hope it doesn't last that long, but if it does, I'd be okay with it. There's worse ways to pull off a Survivor Series match. But until then, we got other matches like Charlotte Flair defeating Trish Stratus. This, as far as I'm concerned, was exactly what I thought it should and would be.
My big criticism on this one, it went on too long. It was the second longest match by 5 seconds. It was over 16 minutes. It did not need to be 16 minutes.
That I will agree. I would have gone for maybe 10.
I would have gone, yeah, that was
10, 11 tops.
Yeah, that's what I thought as well. I thought it was, the one thing about it, Charlotte carried this match. Hands down. And at that point now, I knew for a fact that Trish wasn't going to win. And yeah, this was definitely more of a storytelling match than anything, especially on Charlotte's end, being that typical heel. Is like, this is Trish Stratus. This is Trish Stratus. She was definitely pulling that heel very well, and for me personally, this looked like it was more built. This was definitely made to make Charlotte look good, even though she really didn't need to. I mean, it's Charlotte Flair. What more else can she do? She's definitely in line to go for Bayley.
Yeah, this seemed like more of an official passing of the torch style moment when really she didn't need the push, but the torch was still needed to be passed, and it made for a good spectacle. When I said that this was what I expected it to be, I'm talking more about Trish rolling at the same pace that she has been. I'm talking about Charlotte taking control of the match and walking the ring-rusted Trish through it, making her look good, even in a loss, so that she got the rub, and Trish looked good, and everyone basically looked good and came out smelling like roses in the end.
Mm-hmm.
And really, Trish did not seem sloppy. She seemed like she was working at the same. She seemed like she was working at the same pace that she was when she was in her prime.
I wouldn't go that far, but she actually was holding her own with a lot of help from Charlotte.
Yeah, and even so, this was
definitely not main eventing Raw Trish versus Lita Trish Stratus.
Well, even if that's true, here's my point. She wrestled like the Trish Stratus that I remember. Even if she wrestled more consistently better way back in the day in her prime, she wrestled like the Trish Stratus that I remember, that I recall, and that I was expecting to see. So that in doing so, the result was what I expected it to be, and I was not disappointed.
I will say, Trish Stratus's promo before, I don't know how long it was before, but the one promo she had before, she went on and on about nothing. At that point,
she was definitely rusty in that area.
You were there. You were there. We were watching the promo, and I'm just going, what are you talking about? I was completely lost with what she was saying. Luckily, she did have a good match to blow that out of my mind. But I just got to remember, I just was listening to her promo, and I'm just going, what is going on? What is she talking about?
Bring it on home.
Move on.
But even so, it was about as good a send-off as we would ever get from someone like Trish Stratus. I thought it was appropriate. I thought it fit. Went on a little bit too long, but otherwise, it was good for what it was.
It was good for what it was.
What was not so good was the end result of this next match. Kofi Kingston versus Randy Orton. It ended in a double count-out. Really?
It wasn't even, I understood why they did the double count-out to keep this feud going. It's just the whole execution of it I was not a fan of. Honestly, the match was kind of losing me. This, they tried their damnedest. Because they didn't really do anything for the go-home angles, they just had sit-down interviews. Kofi and Randy did their best to make this feel like they actually did something to build this up to be a blood feud. Which, yes, they had we've said it on the show plenty of times. They have the storyline to build to have it as a blood feud, which makes sense. And they actually started off that way. But by the middle to end of it, it was just dying down, and you can just tell that the fans were just losing interest in this match. And then once that double count out, which people are saying, really? It didn't feel like a 10 count. Once that double count out hit, everyone was just going, bullshit.
And rightfully so.
And rightfully so. Like I said, I understand why they did it. I just don't like it. And now people are online saying that with Randy focusing on Kofi's family and Kofi going, you don't drag my family into this. This is the WWE storyline with AJ Styles and Samoa Joe last year.
Mm-hmm.
Now it just makes me... Yes, the angle that they did on SmackDown was actually really awesome. With Randy Orton tempting Kofi to make it a 6-man tag, and then just him RKOing everybody. And now we have new contenders for the SmackDown Tag Team Championship in the Revival, which that's a Clash of Champions match that I'm looking forward to. But yeah, now they're really focusing on. Hopefully, this is now just okay. They got the family aspect out of it. Hopefully, it'll drag the family aspect into the story, because it would be an exact replica of AJ Styles and Samoa Joe last year after SummerSlam, and we're just going to get a Randy just going, pretty much just pulling his own version of, "Oh, Randy!"
Either way, this whole match was disappointing.
It really was.
I have a personal view that unless you, for the most part, you should never have a double count out or some sort of schmoz finish like this on a major pay-per-view title match. You just don't do it, and it's just deeply, deeply unsatisfying.
Even if you want to put some shenanigans in this, they should have at least had a decisive winner.
Yes. Again, just give us something, even if the feud rolls on, even through shenanigans. That would have given us something to latch on to until the next chapter is written.
If they want to pull this whole family aspect into this, pulling a shenanigans victory, have Randy Orton hit that RKO. Kofi rolls out of the ring. Randy is keep it as if the story is going. Randy hits one more RKO in front of Kofi's family, and then he just looks at them, starts pulling that aspect. He throws Kofi into the ring. He's just saying, "That was your dad. Watch me finish him off." Slides into the ring, and that Randy's ego is his downfall. He goes into the ring into oh god, I'm blanking out on Kofi's finisher.
Trouble in Paradise.
Trouble in Paradise. 1, 2, 3. So
that would have been a lot better.
They had a decisive victory, but they actually could keep the story going. That is because Randy had his ego. If he didn't waste those few minutes, he would have had the belt. That would be a good aspect of keeping this going, and add even more fuel to the flame. Where instead of Kofi being backstage with the interview, you don't disrespect my family. Have it be Kofi just showing up with Xavier Woods, cut that interview out, and then have Randy Orton come in and just saying, "If it wasn't me focusing on your family, you would not be champion right now." And the fact that now you're avoiding even mentioning me makes you a coward, and now make this a 6-man tag and all that, blah blah blah. They were better ways to emphasize this match, and they failed. I was looking forward to this match going in because I was interested in the build, but
that ending though.
That ending and just.
Well, it's enough of that nonsense. Let's talk about something great for a moment, please.
Amazing.
The Fiend Bray Wyatt defeated Finn Balor, and I don't think anyone. We were all expecting a big spectacle for an entrance, the first entrance for the Fiend. What I don't think anybody saw coming was a severed Bray Wyatt head as a lantern.
We were all going into this already ready to love it. This exceeded everything that we were looking forward to in this.
Okay, I'm just going to cut you off right here. Walk me through your experience watching this entrance. What was going through your head as it was happening?
Okay, when this was happening, we were all just sitting in his living room, right, looking at the TV, and we were just party mode, yeah. And we were all of us. We were just going. We were like, we were basically Johnny Gargano in the watch along.
I saw that after the fact. That was fantastic.
We couldn't keep our eyes off it, and as soon as we see Bray Wyatt's lantern, I just yell, "That's Bray Wyatt's head! That's a Wyatt head lantern!" Oh my God, that's representing what Bray Wyatt used to be. Oh my God! His eyes are sewn shut. What is this? And then his theme song, which is just an even darker version of his theme song.
And I didn't even realize at the time. I just thought it was just like some sinister beats or something like that. I didn't even know that they were screaming, "Hurt, heal, hurt, heal."
Yeah, exactly.
Like, oh, geez.
That is exactly.
They're doubling down on that.
I didn't realize. I just was thinking.
So did I. It was like
and then when
metal grunts.
I was just throughout the entire week. I was watching that match over and over again, and I was. Oh, of course I was. I've watched that match. I literally went on the network to watch SummerSlam and fast forwarded to Bray Wyatt versus Finn Balor over and over again. I think I've watched that match like 10 times. There is just so much. This was seriously a Firefly Funhouse segment in the ring. Because when you just look at what happens in this match, there is just so many layers to this.
There really is.
From his entrance, you see you're thinking he was about to pull off the mask, and then he's just twitching and gets right back to it. You can see
he's doing the hurt and heel gloves.
And then he pulls the hurt and heel gloves to break Finn Balor's neck, basically pull a Shao Kahn. You just
which it was done safely, mind you, but it was just it's one of those spots that just absolutely looks way more brutal than
it just. My immediate response to it is like, "Oh my god, we're gonna get it! Don't try this at home." News report of a kid doing that to it and hurting whoever he was doing it to. But that's just the parent in me. But then you have one point when, after he does that, you can see that once again you see the conflict, the inner struggle between the Fiend and Bray Wyatt. You see him look like he's in so much conflict of what he's doing that when he comes out of it to land the Sister Abigail, it gives Finn enough time to regain momentum and build an offense. And as soon as he's going to hit that coup de grace, right into a mandible claw, seamlessly into a mandible claw.
That was beautiful, by the way.
And it led to him taking Finn out, pinning
knocking him out, and it also led to the mandible claw led to a pinfall. I mean, Mick Foley is my favorite wrestler of all time. I don't know how long it's been since I've seen the mandible claw get converted into a straight pinfall. You know what? Even though this started clicking for me because I actually watched this match again earlier today. Yeah. I'm not sure if you picked up on this, but when he was doing like the hurt and the heel thing, it almost seemed like when he does that, he's selecting how he's going to finish you. If he picks the heel glove, he'll do like the Sister Abigail and he'll go for the kiss, and it'll just be like a merciful end. It's just like, euthanasia almost. It's like, boom, you're out. So you're knocked unconscious, you're out, 1, 2, 3 pin, it's all over. No big deal. With the hurt, it's
breaking your neck.
It's not just breaking your neck. It's also going for the mandible claw. It's a torturous, brutal, vicious submission hold it's not a quick knockout. If anything, it destroys you and you're in agonizing pain until you eventually just lose consciousness. And then you get pinned.
I definitely love that now the mandible claw is scary again.
Yes.
Ever since Mick Foley brought in Mr. Sacco, the mandible claw really did become a joke because he's stuffing a dirty sock in your mouth.
Hey, it was still a draw.
It was. Oh yeah. Oh, trust me. I'm not taking anything away from Mr. Sacco. But once he brought in, it definitely became more of a joke. But I still keep thinking about that Mankind interview with JR when it was the twisted Mankind. Yes. And he put JR in the mandible claw. That was scary.
And he was squealing like a piggy.
And he was squealing like...
I mean, you're not... I think someone like Bray Wyatt is intelligent enough and well-versed enough to know that you can't replicate something like that by going complete insane maniac, just squealing like a piggy, screaming. Instead, he's not Leatherface like the original Mankind was. He is the monster under your bed. He is the completely out there, unrealistic monster of your nightmares. He is the terror that flaps in the night. He is the Fiend, and he will make you hurt.
I will say you lost me when you pulled the Darkwing Duck reference.
I had to do that.
Did you really?
Yes, I did.
I love Darkwing Duck. I love DuckTales, but that really wasn't needed.
Okay, take out that one line. You get what I mean.
I do get what you mean. And then that final shot of him. First, you think it's over with it going black, and you're hearing the Bray Wyatt laugh, but then the with him on the stage,
the creepy strobe lights.
I was like, when the crowd started chanting, "That was awesome." It basically took the words right out of my mouth. That was seriously everything about Bray Wyatt versus Finn Balor was perfect.
Absolutely.
There was zero criticism I had on this one. You honestly couldn't do anything more. And I wasn't even mad that Bray Wyatt didn't show up on Raw or SmackDown, especially with the story, with the reasons for it, him wanting to be more of a special attraction. So when he does show up,
you don't know when he's going to show up.
Yeah, when you don't know when he's going to show up next. And when he does, it's a big deal.
Yes, and I've got a few ideas for what could happen next, which I will save that for when we start seeing the next steps of when Bray Wyatt's going to do his thing. But for the most part, everything about this screams that it's got so much thought, effort, time, and just flat out love crafted into this whole character, where it's not just a raw, cool edgelord character, even though that's something it could do, that just never loses. But there's also, it's a monster, a scary, powerful monster with some vulnerability that makes sense. And it's just, it seems like there's like, I don't know if you got this sense too, but it's almost like this is a character from a TV show or a movie or a mythos that has almost like a character Bible attached to it, like that it's like Bray Wyatt somewhere with his time off just crafted the complete and utter backstory of the Fiend, and just had it, okay, what is it, the Fiend's strengths, what is the Fiend's weaknesses, how did the Fiend come to be, is it eldritch, does it come from Sister Abigail, where did it come from, did it come from Sister Abigail, did it not, did it come from internally Bray Wyatt, or was it some outside corrupting force that just took over the vessel of Husky Harris? There are so many different ways you can do with this kind of lore that it seems like Bray Wyatt is enough of a metalhead and a dork that you could craft this kind of thing, and when you're backed up with the entire WWE machine and all of its effort and special effects at your disposal, this is the kind of art that you can create, and it is magnificent.
With you saying all that, it actually reminded me of a tweet way back in the day of when he was teaming up with Matt Hardy.
Mm-hmm.
And they were talking about I think it was Dave Meltzer who said that Bray Wyatt will eventually turn on Matt Hardy, and Matt Hardy and Bray Wyatt responded to that on Twitter, and what Bray Wyatt said, something about when he was thrown into the lake of reincarnation, that there was something else in there. Mm-hmm. I'll look up the tweet again and send it to you.
I heard of that. I heard that he had that exchange. I don't remember. I remember there was some sort of tweet exchange like that. Hasn't been able to find it yet.
Yeah, I'll look it up and try and find it. But he definitely hinted at something that could actually be like the Fiend could have arrived when he was thrown into the lake of reincarnation.
Yeah, that's...
At that point, I'm just like, if he actually builds that into this story, oh my God, that is just true character building for Bray Wyatt.
Yeah, and I think Matt Hardy, even more recently than that, even suggested that, where the Lake of Reincarnation purged the influence of Sister Abigail, but it left almost a void that needed to be filled by something.
And the Fiend was that something that filled in.
Yes.
Who's now in the
corrupted
vessel of Bray Wyatt.
The corrupted character of Bray Wyatt, Husky Harris, whoever he was just so naturally inclined first to Sister Abigail, but then once she was out, something else creeped back in. Something worse. That's because he was thrown in an insane asylum. He eventually managed to deal with it, work with it, weaponize it.
Become it.
Yes. For the benefit of all his Fireflies. All of them.
We let him in. And we are proud to let him in. Yowie wowie.
Except you don't want to let the Fiend in. Bray Wyatt's cool, but the Fiend, you do not knock on that door. No.
He's not Aleister Black.
Well, if Twitter is to be believed, apparently earlier this evening, Aleister is going to be knocking on the door, saying, because they for WWE 2020, they announced that the Fiend would be a pre-order. It's going to be a pre-order bonus.
Yeah, I saw that too.
And apparently, not long before we jumped on to record this, Aleister Black has apparently poked his head in and say, "Yeah, let's talk about that. I got a door." So
I would like
will he be poking the bear?
I would like an Aleister Black. I would like an Aleister Black versus the Fiend eventually. I think it's too soon.
I can see that, but at this point,
there was one tweet that I saw on the Wrestle Talk review on this that it would be Aleister Black versus the Fiend Bray Wyatt in a cage match. Aleister Black is sitting in the ring, and Bray Wyatt is yelling, "Let me in," and Aleister just responds, "All you have to do is knock on the door."
It's that bit of banter that makes me want to see this.
It's corny, but I actually belly laughed from that. I had a good belly laugh from it.
But you know what? If Bray Wyatt himself is any indication, it's not corny if it's pulled off right.
Oh, I agree.
The Fiend was pulled off perfectly.
But
like
from what they were going on in the tweet, it was obviously a joke. Because going in with what their catchphrases and all that, like "Let me in, just knock on the door," ha ha ha. If done right, yes, it would be awesome. But from what they were doing there, it was obviously meant for laughs, and I got a good chuckle out of it.
Now, before we take this home, I do have to ask one more Scholars Quick Talk. Did anybody in your household or anybody you know have nightmares from this?
No.
No? Yeah, my wife couldn't get to sleep until like 1 o'clock in the morning. She was so freaked out by the Fiend. I'm pretty sure another one of our friends who was at the thing was freaked out too.
I did show my wife a picture of the Fiend with the Bray Wyatt lantern. She just looked at it and was just like, "Okay, I know you've been showing Elizabeth Firefly Funhouse.
Yeah.
But do not show her this." And I'm like, "Don't worry. Trust me, I know better. I know."
I'm glad you do.
She's seen the Fiend in the Firefly Funhouse episodes. Yeah, that one appearance that "Want to Know My Secret," and Elizabeth just responds, "Yeah." She sees the Fiend and is just like, "I want to watch that again."
He's speaking to the children.
He really is. But as soon as I saw this, I was like, I am not showing my 5-year-old this.
Good idea.
Yeah, she actually is into horror stuff. I mean, she saw the opening scene for It, the new one.
Well, then again, she's also your kid, so she's gonna be fearless when she grows up.
But to be fair, she walked in on me watching it. But as soon as she saw it, she's just like, "That was cool." And then every time I'm trying to select a movie on Google Play, "What do you want to watch?" she always lands it on It.
Wow.
And I'm like, "Elizabeth, no. Wait till you're a little older. Wait till you're in the double digits before I'll show you this movie." I'll wait till you're 13.
I'll wait until you're 30.
But that was what Michelle said. I'm waiting until you're 30 to show her. Michelle still doesn't want to see that movie.
Responsible mom's gonna responsible mom. Hey,
And Crazy Dad is just going to keep doing the crazy stuff.
pretty much, yeah. But even so, this was, again, Bray Wyatt match of the night. I'm just gonna say it.
This was my match of the night too, because
Brilliant.
there was, yes, it was more storytelling than anything, but just even
The delivery.
just the delivery on everything, even the wrestling.
Someone call him Domino's because he just delivered hard.
I'm hungry. Don't bring up Domino's.
Okay, another time then.
Maybe.
But then again, my next thought was, how in the world could they top that? Well, I don't think Seth and Brock topped it, but they finished about as strong as one could.
They
circumstances.
finished the pay-per-view as best as they could, and it was on a very
with
high
Seth
note.
Rollins retaining.
He won it. He beat Brock.
Winning, but
Brock was the one.
I'm still so used to him having the title. I'm just like, doy. Like,
This was actually a really, really fun match,
it was.
and I liked his Seth's backflip reversals into a curb stomp early on in the match, and a lot of people were pointing out that Seth really wasn't selling his injured ribs as much as he should have, especially from the beating he got in these last couple weeks. But from that frog splash to the Spanish announce table, to Brock Lesnar holding him by the bandages and twirling him around like one of those tilt-a-whirls at a carnival. I had fun with this match, and the one thing I definitely loved more, I loved this match more than their match at WrestleMania. And I was there for WrestleMania, so yeah, I actually found this match a lot more enjoyable. For one thing, the whole purpose of this match wasn't selling behind a low blow. Seth won this match clean. This was Brock Lesnar's first clean loss since Goldberg. So now Seth Rollins is now in that that they even announced that he's in that small group with Kurt Angle and Goldberg, who's actually defeated Brock Lesnar twice.
Yeah, this match, it didn't read for me so much that it was no selling. It read for me more like...
Oh, it's not that he wasn't no selling. He wasn't selling enough.
Yeah, it seemed to me like he's a guy who's really athletic, who was just powering through injuries, which sort of caught someone like Brock Lesnar off guard, and also the rest of the crowd off guard, to get some really, really good shots in and allowed him to gain the upper hand and ultimately win in the end.
What I liked about it is that because Seth has kind of hurt himself from Twitter and just this whole storytelling, just
not a good look.
Wasn't a good look. People were very split. The people in the crowd were booing him and all that. He definitely worked his way to actually gain the crowd back.
Yes.
And that was a win in my book for that. And just that final nail that he actually did what most people haven't been doing, was beating Brock Lesnar clean. That's something to behold, and that's actually something to regain the momentum that Seth has lost.
Absolutely. And I was really burned down on Seth. He's as good as he is on paper. He is one of those personalities, whether not necessarily through his ability, but also just how he's being booked and how he's being handled.
Well, that's what happens when you put him in a 3-month feud against Baron Corbin and then just having him lose again to Brock Lesnar.
There you go. And just the way it was all executed, he's one of those people where even though I want to like him, but he rides the line so much between like overly sanitized corporate goober to really hyper athletic architect of the Shield entertaining badass. Like this one, we got the latter. This one is the highly athletic entertaining badass who can beat anyone on the roster if given half a chance, and he beat Goldberg clean.
Brock Lesnar.
Brock Lesnar. Big beefy man dudes, whatever.
Big Bork Laser.
Big Bork Laser, that's his name now. It's canon in the scholars. But yeah, he beat Big Bork Laser. Yeah, it was a good show, great ending to a great night.
So facial hair ratings, what would you give SummerSlam?
I'll tell you what. I was thinking about this. I was originally going to give this a full beard, 4 out of 5, because of the ending of the Kofi Kingston match, but I'll be honest, in my eyes, it's very rare when a match, a debut, a segment, anything actually over-delivers like Bray Wyatt did. I'm going to I could come up with a bunch of logical reasons why I would put it a full beard, but no, screw it. This is a 5 out of 5 goat face. For Bray Wyatt alone, there were enough good moments that really padded it out, but the Bray Wyatt moment and the match was so darn good, and the hype behind it was something like we haven't seen in a very, very long time. That deserves something special. That makes the show itself that much stronger, way more entertaining. And, on top of everything, it was a major pay-per-view that actually ended at a sensible hour and was paced very, very well. Ending some matches notwithstanding. A great show, followed by one of the hottest acts we've seen in wrestling in a very long time. I cannot in good conscience give this anything less than a 5 out of 5 at goat face.
It's actually funny because really thinking about this event, it really comes to show that when we actually start bringing actual competition for WWE and AEW and New Japan, the G1, which has been phenomenal from what I've been watching of the highlights and reading. It was just, I'm really looking forward to how the G1 ends, but it just shows when WWE actually has competition, legit competition, they know when to pull their A game. Like, it wakes them up. They're rejuvenated. They put on fantastic shows, and
they push the Bray button.
And this definitely was a show. This was definitely one of their best shows that they've done in a long time. Like, there were really two real criticisms I had on negative aspects on this show. But there was just so much good in almost the entire show that it completely overshadows the negatives I have in it. And yeah, Bray with the re-debut of a character, great match to end the show, awesome nostalgia moments with Goldberg, great title matches, Attitude Era feel with Kevin Owens and Shane McMahon. I actually am right there with you. I'm going to give this a 5 out of 5. I'm going to give this a goat face. Good job, WWE. Really keep this going.
That is what a show ought to be.
You even had good follow-up shows with Raw and Smackdown afterwards. Mm-hmm. Really keep this momentum going. And if you keep this going, you don't have anything to worry about when it comes. You just have basically another company we just have more wrestling, and that'll just make us happy. It's no longer just a competition. This may be a kind of I may be in the minimal crowd with this one, but I actually enjoyed SummerSlam a lot more than I did TakeOver.
You know what? I can see why that would be. It delivers the big spectacle, the big moments, and from bell to bell, it was jam-packed with good stuff. There were still some low points, like any show does, but for the most part, you're absolutely right. This show delivered and then some.
But yeah, it's not taking anything away from TakeOver. TakeOver was a great show, but I
think this is, again, you can tell me if I'm wrong, but I think the reason that we're feeling the way that we do is that because something like an NXT TakeOver delivers so consistently, we've come to expect a phenomenal show. With WWE, when they're sort of hit or miss or that kind of thing, for a SummerSlam to not only deliver, but also be paced really well, and again, conclude at a decent hour, not be like a 5-hour slog. I think we're not part of this is not so used for the main WWE shows to be delivering this strongly on a consistent basis as they have been. So that's just my thought.
Understandable, but yeah, say my words right. When it came to wrestling this weekend, on all aspects, this was just a great weekend for us wrestling fans. And I'm just really looking forward to what the rest of this year brings and what does next year bring, especially now that we have AEW TV and you have WWE TV now. Actually, it's like, oh, we have competition. We're now waking up. And hopefully this momentum that they built from this weekend and these Raw and Smackdown shows, they could keep it going.
So now is the time in the show where we turn it over to you, our listening audience. What did you think of SummerSlam? Where is The Fiend going to appear next? What are feuds are on the horizon? Who are the next challengers? Especially for the Scholars of Wrestling Championship and for the Party Championship. When is that going to be defended next? We want to hear from you on all fronts. So everywhere, all across the internet, Facebook, YouTube, wherever you are, we are. Especially on our Twitter machines. Follow us at ScholarsOW for all the latest episode uploads. And you can also follow us on our own personal Twitter accounts. Starting with Fool, where can they reach you?
You can reach me at the Avataric.
And you can reach Brian, our current reigning and defending Scholars of Wrestling champion, at Atomic Beanpole. And you can also follow me at I'm Robbie Rage. Join us for more fun and more discussion and more speculation. Because you know who we are. We are the Scholars of Wrestling, and you have just been schooled. You're welcome. See you all next week. Don't let him in.